I feel for a lot of players, there's a few moments in their career that are defining. Win or lose, you can pinpoint it for all great players that there was that playoff series that determined just his legacy or the way you viewed this player. It impacted their whole entire career. That if you look back at anybody's career, it's always those two or three series that if they had won those series, then this player's all-time ranking is suddenly different than what it is today, or just vice versa. If this player lost the series or that series, then we don't have him ranked as high as we do. I feel Jayson Tatum is now at one of those points again in his career. He's still very young. I felt he was at one of those points a few years ago against the Warriors. He was terrible in that series. And he's been cursed ever since then because people don't take him seriously despite the great numbers that he puts up during the regular season. It comes back to that Warriors series in which he didn't show up. He choked big time in that series. He was god awful. He was terrible throughout that series. I remember in that series, Jaylen Brown was actually the better player for the Celtics versus the way he played in that series. That series has been hanging over his head the last few years. People keep dismissing him, saying he's not a big time performer when it really matters. Just based off that series, you can't blame them. The finals is the highest place to perform in the NBA, just when it comes to pressure and the bright lights. And he didn't step up in that series back a few years ago. But now when I look at his numbers the last 2 years, he's put up really good numbers in the playoffs. Just every series besides that Warriors series, he has good numbers. So it's really, really crucial that Jayson Tatum has a great series during this finals to erase his bad reputation he's had the last few years, because perception is reality and no one remembers any of the good series he's had the few years just due to what happened with the Warriors. I think Tatum really has to win this series. I'm not saying necessarily he has to win Finals MVP in the finals against the Mavericks, but he has to win. It's really important he wins now. He's still young. I think he's 26, 27 at this point in time. But you want to win as soon as you can when you're a player in this league, in the NBA, because you don't know when there's going to be other opportunities to win. And there's very few times you have a time for redemption to get back to winning after you lost the finals, like the Celtics do now, 2 years later after losing that series against the Warriors. This is their shot for redemption. It's not guaranteed that it'll happen for them again next year. This is why Tatum has to seize this moment and step up, because if he doesn't win this series, it's definitely gonna be worse than losing in 2022, because now losing two finals, he'll be branded as a big time choker on the levels of guys like Karl Malone, for instance, just never being able to win the big one, or even Clyde Drexler to some degree, because prior to joining the Houston Rockets, I think his situation was very similar to Jayson Tatum, that he was a great player. He was able to get to two finals with the Portland Trailblazers, but he wasn't able to get them over the hump. He just couldn't do it. And then he finally got to win a title when he was with the Rockets, but he did it not being the guy, but being a sidekick to Elijah. That's when he finally got over the hump. And so what I'm trying to say is that you don't get many chances to win a title being the guy. So you have to do it once you got the opportunity. You got to strike when opportunities knocking at that door. And I feel for Tatum it is right now. He has to win. Excuse me, or he's going to end up with a similar career arc to guys like Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller. Just he could be a great player, but you're always viewed in a different light when you didn't win the big one, as they say. You're just not given the type of respect you feel that you may deserve being an all-time great at your position. I think Tatum, I won't say I think, I know for sure Tatum will fall in that same career trajectory as those guys did. Just it's going to end up the same way if he doesn't win, especially in this series. because if he doesn't win now, it's not guaranteed he's going to get this chance again. So everything is on him for him to win. I think the pressure is really on him. This is all about his legacy and seeing if he can really rise to the challenge. Now, if he wins this series, is he going to suddenly be boosted to being the best player in the league? Absolutely not. I don't think he is the best player in the league. But by winning this series, then people can't dispute his greatness. It's indisputable how great he truly is. If he can win this series, he has a ring to back him up to say, I am a legit all-time great player. I think that's what winning a title does. When you're the guy, it makes you for sure an all-time great. And then by winning this, Tatum becomes an all-time great. He has a shot to then even pad his legacy more in upcoming years where he can be in the argument now for being the best player in the league, but he hasn't been the last few years simply because people don't believe he can win a title, that he can be the guy on a championship team. That's the one last thing holding him back. That's going to be very interesting for me to see in the series, how he steps up in the situation. Does he rise to the occasion, or does he fall apart like guys like Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, those guys, like how they fell apart in the past? I think that's going to be interesting. So that's all I have to say about this.